Thank you for a very wonderful introduction. And I hope you guys had a good lunch. It will be just quick information about how Fortinet could actually help those organizations who adapt or migrate their application workloads towards the cloud. Okay. So as mentioned by Leia, I am Alex Adalam. I am a systems engineer from Fortinet, supporting the enterprise. Okay. So I'll be sharing with you guys on how Fortinet could secure the customer's cloud adoption. These are the things that I'll be sharing all throughout my presentation. Of course, the cloud security landscape, what are the available security solutions of Fortinet, protecting the cloud, be it on the IaaS or SaaS applications, some key use cases and deployment scenarios that most of the customers are adopting using our solutions, and of course, why Fortinet. Okay, let me talk about first for the security landscape. With regards on the latest trends of the cloud migrations and adoption, of course, just recently, Fortinet releases a report. It is called Cloud Security Report of 2021, wherein it surveys a lot of cybersecurity professionals in terms of how they do or how they strategize their cloud adoption in terms of security. Okay, so key survey findings include that today 30% of the organization are running more than 50% workloads in the cloud, while expecting it to be increased to the next 12 to 18 months. Okay, and actually one of the phenomena that accelerate it is because of the pandemic, right? To enable their business to be on top on this pandemic and even allowing their employee to work from anywhere, some of their workloads are being now migrated to the cloud. Some application actually born in the cloud already, no? And that is the new way of doing things in terms of the application and data centers. Okay. Another key findings in terms of the cloud deployment strategies is that most organizations are pursuing a hybrid or a multi-cloud model in terms of their current architecture. Typically, they are doing this for integration of multiple services, scalability, or even business continuity reason. Actually, most of my customers who are doing cloud, yung DR nila nasa cloud na, no? They are not building their data center or the secondary data center, lahat nasa cloud na. And even planning to make it the cloud as their primary and even a data disaster recovery center, okay? So there are some few companies who are just using single cloud, but most of them actually are using multi-cloud. One of the best example here is one of my customers. They actually have Azure, they have AWS, Google Cloud, and Alibaba. And each of those IaaS provider, they have different applications. No, depende. Merong their AWS are for focusing on the web application, serving the customers. There is a dedicated Azure for the internal resources. So iba-iba, no, depending on the department and depending on how they do their applications. No, that's the reality right now. In terms of the cloud security platform, of course, majority of the cybersecurity professionals want to have a single pane of cloud security platform, no? Because nowadays the complexity is once the vulnerability. If our customer doesn't able to have a visibility or control the cloud environment, nagkakaroon ng what? Misconfigurations, breach, or they don't have any visibility really on their cloud environment. No? Those are the risks that they are encountering. Okay, and of course, the digital innovations, the adoption of the cloud technologies always comes with a risk. The very first one is the digital attack surface. Typically and previously, when we say about perimeter, our perimeter is only on our own network, right? Our data center, our branches, those are the perimeter. However, because we are now migrating application workloads to the cloud and even allowing our employees and customers from different parts of the world are accessing our cloud applications, in perimeter is now everywhere. Even the home, no? Yung home office is considered a branch already. That's why it's really important to have a security everywhere, no? So that should be the cybersecurity strategy. In terms of the sophisticated threats, previously we are just talking about ransomware. And still, ransomware is still currently ransomware is still prevalent. However, there is a new attack nowadays called supply chain attacks. This is a way of indirectly attacking or infecting the customers, no? Hindi nila ina-attack but the vendor. So because of that, our strategy should be on top or adapt for the current threats that we are facing right now. Okay. The next one's data security and compliance. Typically, as mentioned a while ago, no, sophisticated threats. But in the cloud, the number one problem with that environment is actually misconfigurations, and that misconfigurations typically the cause of the data breach or data loss. No, it's really important to have a visibility of the cloud, how our cloud being configured, and if it is really compliant with the industry standards, the likes of GDPR. Here in the Philippines, we have the so-called Data Privacy Act. So those are the types of the compliance, right? The next one is skill shortage. Of course, cloud is a new technologies. And of course, those IT admins, those people who manages our infrastructure should be aware also in terms of management. No? And na-mention ko na yung misconfigurations. And because of the skill shortage, nagkakaroon ng ganong phenomenon or the ganong event on our cloud environment. And that is really a problem. Okay. So what is our approach in terms of protecting our customers or enabling our customers' digital innovation to be secured? We have the so-called the Fortinet Security Fabric, and this Fortinet Security Fabric is the integrated cybersecurity platform or integration of the entire security solutions of the Fortinet. I know you guys already familiar with the Fortinet Security Fabric, and you guys are maybe asking or thinking, how are you going to implement that security fabric, extend it to the cloud environment? Okay, so we do have a lot of pillars for Fortinet Security Fabric. We have here the Zero Trust Network Access that identifies and protects the users and devices on and off the network. Security-driven networking, this is our SD1 and SD branch. And for the AI-driven security operation is our SOC solutions, right? SIEM, SOAR, and even EDR. And lastly, which is I will be focusing today, is the adaptive cloud security. So if we zoom in to the adaptive cloud security, we actually have different pillars as well. Okay, it has three pillars. The first one is the network, providing microsegmentation, security on the cloud infrastructure. So, and even providing secured connectivity. So later on, you'll see different scenarios or use cases that you may adapt using our network platform. I mean, pillars. The next one is the platform. With regards to the platform, this is our solution that able to check or have a visibility in terms of the best practices being applied by the organization to their cloud environment, be it on the IaaS and even the SaaS applications. Lastly is the applications. Of course, when we do adopt the cloud, for sure, this organization is already application centric, right? So they do have multiple web applications internally or even for supporting their customers. So here we have web application firewall and of course optimizing their web application infrastructure using our application delivery controller. Okay. So this is the product on each pillar. As I mentioned a while ago, for the network, we have here our FortiGate. I believe you are familiar with the FortiGate already. This is our firewall. And this firewall could be extended also or implemented for the cloud environment, providing secured connectivity and even protecting the cloud infrastructure. Okay. For the platform security, we have here FortiCASB and FortiCWP. The FortiCASB is our solutions to have a visibility on control for SaaS applications, while the FortiCWP is our security for providing security for IaaS. No, IaaS, so they're different. CASB for the SaaS and the FortiCWP for the IaaS. When you say IaaS, those are the AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, so they, Microsoft. They are the IaaS one, right? When it comes to the applications, we have here the FortiWeb. The FortiWeb is our web application firewall, providing layer 7 protection against the top 10 OWASP. Maybe you're familiar with it already. Those the likes of SQL injection, cross-site scripting, brute forcing. So of course, this is really important, especially for if we have some application that's published publicly. Okay, we also have here the FortiMail. Our FortiMail is a security email gateway. No, it will provide security for the cloud email, like for example, Office 365, G Suite. So those are the typical one. right? Here in the Philippines, yun yung ginagamit ng mga customers. And lastly, in terms of optimization of our data center and even web application web application infrastructure, we have here the FortiADC. The FortiADC is our application delivery controller or server load balancer. While the FortiGSLB, it is a SaaS-based service that could provide high availability for your data center. DNS-based load balancing. For example, you have data center 1 and data center 2. If you would like to have high availability, to reroute the traffic based on the health of our DC, one of the best solution for that is FortiGSLB. Okay, so let's now talk about the key use cases and deployment scenarios. The very first one and the main use cases of our Fortinet security solutions in protecting the IaaS infrastructure is Cloud Security Services Hub. So ano ba tong Cloud Security Services Hub? This Cloud Security Services Hub is a central point of enforcement and visibility in your cloud infrastructure. It will be a dedicated VPC, and this is where all of your security controls will be home. The FortiGate, the FortiWeb, the FortiSandbox for providing advanced protection for your cloud infrastructure, and even extending it up to the on-premise solutions. Okay, so if you are familiar with the Transit VPC, they are almost the same. They are the same concept lang, no? But the Cloud Security Services Hub, from the term itself, no, security hub, meaning a central point of security on your cloud environment. So for this Cloud Security Services Hub, one of the sub use cases is the secure hybrid cloud. We mentioned a while ago about the adoption of the multi-cloud. And when we say multi-cloud, it could be an on-premise data center and an IaaS connecting them. Right? Those are the hybrid cloud. No? Of course, if you have workloads located on the on-premise and there are some nodes located on the IaaS and they need to have a connectivity, you have to make it very secure. And of course, considering the performance. Some of the IaaS actually have their own virtual VPN services. However, if you're familiar with their VPN services, limited, right? For example, for the AWS, for their VPN services, it has the capability of up to 1.25 gigabits only. So imagine if marami tayong sites, if we require 10 gigabits of link, so hindi siya capable, no? So you may leverage our FortiGate next-gen firewall for providing secure hybrid connectivity between different clouds and even multi-clouds, IaaS, like for example, connecting AWS, Azure, and even Google Cloud, no, to your on-premise data center. Okay. The next one is secure remote access. In the advent of the pandemic, we are all working from anywhere, and the work from anywhere initiative will be permanent indefinitely. No, there are some forecasts from some research, no, na even post-pandemic, yung current setup natin, pwede on the other organization will be permanent, right? Of course, if we also have application workloads on the cloud and we require our customers and even our employees to access them, we have to make it na secure yung access nila, no? So, as mentioned a while ago, home office is considered a branch nowadays. Okay, so we have to make sure that whenever our employee access our application, it should be secured. Their devices, like for example, the laptop and even the mobile phones, they should be also free from threats, right? Because the laptop, the desktop, the BYO devices, those are all entry point of the hackers, no? So hindi man breach yung perimeter natin, but on the cloud, if we are infected and we access those, pwedeng mag-lateral movement. Okay? The next one is logical intent-based segmentation. The segmentation is not a new strategy or not new approach, right? We are implementing an segmentation even on the network level, on our on-premise data center, on even on our on-premise network. Of course, for the cloud infrastructure, we do have here a lot of VPC or VNet, right? Pwedeng may storage VPC, application VPC, and they require connectivity. Though the cloud provider have their own native controls, yung security group, yung access control list, they are up to layer 4 only. They don't provide application aware traffic, no? So you may leverage our FortiGate to extend or to provide a segmentation for different networks on your cloud. Okay, so this is to protect the east-to-west traffic, no? Visibility and protection for possible breach for our valuable assets. Okay. The next one is the web application security. As mentioned, some of the application-centric organizations, when they do implement their application infrastructure or serving for those employee and even customers, typically they are already on the cloud, right? So pag sinabi natin cloud, it could be accessed everywhere. And these applications are actually prone to possible layer 7 attacks, SQL injection, cross-site scripting. And our solution for this one is our FortiWeb. As mentioned a while ago, we also have our own web application firewall. Okay, this is not a typical just a web application firewall that is kumbaga nagbe-base sa static, no? It is powered by machine learning and analytics. Okay. The next one is SaaS. Of course, this application actually provide a lot of benefits from the businesses. No, however, these SaaS applications always left unmonitored. So for this one, in order for us to have a visibility and control for our SaaS application, we have the so-called FortiCASB, or Cloud Access Security Broker. It has 4 pillars to provide for the organization. The first one is visibility. Okay, the FortiCASB uses a lot of methods such as data scans, analytics to answer the question who accessed the information, what was accessed, when it was accessed, and where did the access originate. So that's the level of visibility that FortiCASB could provide. The first one is compliance. The FortiCASB could provide a file content monitoring to find and report on the regulated data stored on the cloud. Okay. The next one is data security. Of course, if we have some storage and most of our employees storing their documents, some of the documents have SSS number, credit card number, right? So the FortiCASB could have a visibility on those confidential data and provides visibility on how those data are being used by the users. If those confidential data in access ni Alex and si Alex doesn't have the privilege to access those data, pwedeng mag-alert, pwedeng i-block, or pwedeng i-control. So that's how it works. Okay. The next one is cloud security posture management and the cloud workload protection. Of course, the cloud infrastructure is a different thing. No? It's a different infrastructure. Typically, in terms of the visibility and compliance, lacking for the cloud. No? Especially if we have multi-cloud environment and those clouds has multiple native controls, no? So using the FortiCWP and or the Forti Cloud Workload Protection, it could provide you a single visibility or security posture of your cloud environment. Again, the difference between the FortiCASB and the FortiCWP is that the FortiCASB is for the SaaS and the FortiCWP is for the IaaS. Okay, so they are being integrated for both cloud via API. Okay. The next one is compliance in the cloud, right? So of course, for organization operating in a highly regulated industry, one of the key business requirements is maintaining the compliance across multiple cloud environments. Okay, so the cloud is very dynamic, and providing a compliance visibility in security is very challenging. Okay, so our FortiCWP, our FortiSIEM, so our security events, incident event management, and FortiAnalyzer actually have a compliance reporting built in already on the solutions. Okay, so automatically you'll have the likes of SOX compliance, GDPR, PCI DSS. So those are the types of compliance that's already built in on the cloud, no? And it will provide you reporting already, no? Sorry. The next one is container security. Most of the cloud environment are more reliant on DevOps and continuous integration. So the container security becomes a crucial part of our strategy. Yung mga Docker, right? Mga Kubernetes. So those are the things that we that we have to protect. And even those cloud environment, like for example, for AWS, for the Azure, they have their own Kubernetes, right? AKS, EKS, so those are the native one, right? So in Fortinet, we divided to 4 complementary areas of protection. The first one is the FortiGate. The FortiGate, if you're familiar with our fabric connector or external connector, we do have a direct integration with the likes of Docker, Kubernetes, and you could apply a dynamic policy for the dynamic objects coming from those environments. Okay, the next one is our FortiWeb. We also have a FortiWeb Container Edition, and the FortiWeb Container Edition could be installed as part of the package or as part of the application. So from there, you'll see, kumbaga, native na siya sa application mo. Pag binild mo siya, no, automatically, there will be a layer 7 protection for the applications. Okay, in terms of the FortiSandbox, for the FortiSandbox, of course, when you do the continuous integrations, you upload the registries, images, firmware, software, patches. No, because before you do that, sometimes they have vulnerabilities, right? So you could actually dynamically process it first with our FortiSandbox. The FortiSandbox is our ATP solutions before you upload a certain images or software to your applications. And lastly is our FortiCW2. We have the so-called the Container Guardian. It could provide as well security for your Docker environment, even the mga container environment natin. Okay. The next one is the SAP S/4HANA migration. A lot of organizations nowadays are gradually migrating their SAP node or architecture to the cloud. One of the reasons is on 2027, may end of support na yung SAP Business Suite, right? So of course, I've mentioned a while ago about the secure hybrid cloud, okay? Sa web applications protecting the or the WAF protecting the web applications. Those the key or the core solutions that could actually protect the migration for the cloud. Nowadays, yung migration natin is hindi lahat hindi lahat directly from the cloud, no. These gradually there are still some nodes from the on-premise, and there will be some nodes located on the cloud. And our cloud security services hub containing our FortiGate and the FortiWeb will be a good strategy protecting our SAP environment. So what are the typical vulnerability yung mga SAP natin? You're familiar with the SAP Fury, right? This is the web UI of the SAP architecture. And if you have the web UI, automatically in terms of layer 7 attacks, we are already prone to those attacks. No, there are two well-known attacks for the SAP. They are the SQL injection and the remote code executions. As we all know, the SAP contains a lot of important informations for the company, and even integration with their third party, right? So typically there are some API middleware, and those API could also be an entry point of the hackers getting information from our ERP, right? So that could cause a data leak or data loss, right? So for that one, most of the key use cases or deployment that, as mentioned a while ago about the web application security and the secure hybrid cloud, is applicable for the migration of the SAP HANA to the cloud. Okay. So let's now talk about the Fortinet differentiators. Of course, in terms of the partnership, this is the highlights. Okay, so you could see the AWS, those well-known cloud IaaS provider are all technology partners. We are partnering with them, meaning our solutions could be installed for their environment and their native controls and even their native security. Like for example, Inspector for the AWS, guard duty, we do have an integration with them. So we also have multiple reference architecture for different cloud environment, like for this one, yung napakita ko sa inyo. Okay, on the slides. The next one, in terms of integration, this is very important. So these are the native controls from the different public cloud provider. So lahat ng to has a direct integration with Fortinet. If you're familiar with the security fabric, one of the characteristics is open, right? So we do have a lot of a mechanism for integration. Fabric connector, Fabric API. If you're the customer, have their own DevOps team, we do have community-driven scripts also available on the GitHub. So so we do have a lot of integration mechanism. Okay. In terms of the deployment guides and reference diagram, so we have a complete one. No, most of the key use cases that na mention ko kanina, we have a reference diagram, reference architecture. When we say reference architecture, meaning it is proven, working, and here in the Philippines, we actually have customers who are doing that already. especially yung Cloud Security Services Hub. So, yun yung typical na ginagamit ng mga customers na setup. Okay? So, why choose Fortinet? Of course, we do have the broadest set of threat vector protection from, as mentioned a while ago, the Fortinet Security Fabric application to the cloud environment, providing end-to-end visibility, protection, and management. So that's how we attack or we position ourselves for cloud security. Okay. The next one, superior performance for VPN and NG firewall. As mentioned, the typical services from the cloud provider, they are not scalable. No? May limitation in terms of the performance. And if you require superior performance, gigabit performance, connectivity from different multi-clouds, you may leverage our next generation firewall, which is the FortiGate. Okay. In terms of the threat intelligence, our FortiGuard Labs is one of the best threat intelligence platform in the world, no, in the market. And of course, one of the reasons is that we are the most deployed firewall in the world, and we got a lot of threat feeds coming from third party, like for example, for the CTA, Cyber Threat Alliance. The Cyber Threat Alliance, one of the founder of that is our CEO. That CTA is the organization. Sorry, it's the organization coming from different vendors sharing threat intelligence feeds. Aside from the CTA, we got also feed coming from the Interpol, yung mga national certs like US cert, EU cert. So we got feeds from them. Okay. And of course, consistent security posture across enterprise footprint. If you'll see our integrations with the cloud environment, you'll see that most of their components, it could be integrated with our solutions. And because of that, we complement how the cloud provider provides security for the workloads for the customers. Okay. Again, deep technical integration with public cloud providers and robust deployment tools and reference architecture, meaning again, reference architecture that we have are proven, tested, and being used already by the customers here in the Philippines. Okay. Lastly, of course, you will accelerate your automations and modernizations. Okay, with regards on or using our Fabric API, DevOps, Fabric connector in terms of automation, we are open. We do have those kinds of mechanism for integration, even for the third-party one. Okay, so ayun, I think sakto. That ends my presentations.